In 2011, we get a return to the Scream franchise 10 years after, of course, the third installment, which we don't talk about. But this one is once again directed by Wes Craven, starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Emma Roberts, also as well in this film. This movie is about 10 years after the Woodsboro murders. Sidney Prescott returns to Woodsboro on the final end date of her book tour, and that is when chaos decides to take over with the return of Ghostface for the fourth time again. So we're going to dive into this movie and help you decide whether or not it's the right one to watch as a Christian right now. Hey friends, welcome to the channel. I'm your host Tim. We exist to help Christians live in the world, not of the world, by utilizing our convictions in the movies and shows we watch. Scream 4 is rated R for some strong, bloody violence and gore, as well as some strong language and some intense moments throughout. So we're going to dive into any convictions you may have that may prevent you from watching this fourth installment of the Scream franchise, any theological themes present within it, and wrap it up with my own personal thoughts on this movie. Without further ado, let's dive into the Christian Conviction Meter. If this is your first time here, welcome. We're so glad you're here. This is, of course, an area of 5 convictions that may distract or hinder your relationship with Jesus. Ultimately, this is a resource to help you figure out whether or not Scream aligns with the convictions that God has given you. And kicking things off with violence and gore, there is no way I can start off talking about this movie without saying that this is by far the goriest and bloodiest of the franchise. There is a massive departure in the way this film is presented, feels, and is done because it comes off extremely realistic. And the reason I say that is because in the previous Stab movies, the blood color is very much a, kind of classic red, one that you would see in a fantasy style film. This one is not that. It really changes color. It's a much darker red that is very reminiscent of a really dark and disturbing horror and or crime show, which of course really started to take root in the early 2010s and late 2000s. Those was really when the start of some of that type of stuff really started to take off, because they were kind of pushing a bit of the boundaries on realism during this era, not just for horror films, but also just movies and shows in general. And you had obviously the era of kind of these big blockbusters and franchises, things of that sort. That's all side tangent here. But this is by far the bloodiest and goriest of the franchise so far. This also has, of course, the most deaths out of any of the Scream franchise. I believe there is about 7 within this one. Usually there is about 2 to 3 within each of the Scream movies. This one essentially doubles that, and so that is something to keep in mind. At the same time too, there are tons of, once again, stabbings that are a part of this movie. Sometimes a overkill amount. This Ghostface that is a part of this movie really struggles with overkill. It's a term used by those within the criminal justice field to describe essentially someone who goes above and beyond in taking out their victim. Usually there is a big difference, and sometimes Ghostface stabs their victims anywhere from 5 to sometimes 15 times. It's absolutely vile. It's absolutely even more intense and gruesome. I do also want to point out that there is a moment within this movie which is very much exaggerative, where a girl's room is absolutely a mess from her murder. And what I mean by that is just blood is just sprayed throughout her room. And I've seen stuff like that before. I have enjoyed either true crime documentaries or things of that sort from just different shows, Criminal Minds, things of that sort. This was still a lot. It was very gruesome, very, very gory. This is the gory, like I said, this is the goriest Scream film that we've had. And so that is just something to really keep in mind here. You have your, obviously, other things here with violence, punching, kicking, shooting, stabbing, using whatever to try to take out Ghostface or anyone else. that's a part of this movie. Someone's shot in the head. A girl is thrown off a building after she was attacked by Ghostface. There's just a lot here. It's an over the top that they really go with this one, which is kind of expected from Scream because a lot of it, again, is very parody-esque. This does not feel like that whatsoever. It's going to be a 5 out of 5 in this category, for sure. Our next category is lust, and there are a few characters who walk around with very loose clothing, things of that sort that can be very revealing at times. At the same time, too, there is, as kind of all the other Scream movies have done, multiple sexual innuendos, things of that sort that is contained within this film. And there is the, I guess you could say, obligatory, girl in very minimal clothing shot that is a part of the movie. And so that is something to kind of keep in mind here. Of course, this is going to be a 3 out of 5 in this category. There's a good amount here. Not as much as the previous Scream film, but there still is some areas here that we just gotta keep in mind, especially if this is an area you're not comfortable with. Our next category is substances, and there is a good amount here. There's a lot of underage drinking. This is about high schoolers, so there's a lot of high schoolers drinking. Yay, so fun, I love it. But they're drinking beer, liquor, some harder drinks for sure. There is also a drinking game that's a part of like a stabathon. Yes, they have a stabathon, as in a marathon of the stab movies. Either way, though, there's a drinking game that is a part of it, and we do see several characters visibly drunk. Now, they're obviously not over the top and crazy, but that is still something to keep in mind with this film. We are going to give this a 4 out of 5, just to be on the safe side here. This is one of those movies that has a little bit more in this category than the previous ones, but it's still something to keep in mind here. Our next category is profanity, and there is once again a good amount here, as we've seen through the obviously previous Scream movies. L is used, the DA word is used, I'm pretty sure the DI word at some point is used, the A word's used, the BI word is used, the PU word is used. There's a lot of language throughout, the SH words used. There's just a lot of language throughout. And just like the other installments of the Scream franchise, there is also multiple uses of the F word contained within this film. So because of that, it is going to be a 5 out of 5, but there also is a few uses of Jesus and OMG, so that is something to keep in mind. But again, regardless, because of the fact that it deals with multiple uses of the F word itself, it's going to be a 5 out of 5 in this category. Our last category is intense/horror scenes, and this is a horror movie, so that is something to keep in mind. It's going to have the classic horror antics with the music and the tense moments to make you sit on the edge of your seat and get some jump scares out of you, which there are plenty throughout. Like I did mention, this is the bloodiest, goriest, and I would argue creepiest of the Scream franchise thus far. They go from kind of a quasi-parody horror slasher film to fully embracing that sort of title of a slasher. They don't hold back in this film whatsoever. And so that just adds to the intensity. There's lots of screaming, lots of fighting, lots of moments of just intense running away, and intense moments that happen throughout this movie. Like I mentioned earlier, there is a girl who is literally thrown off a building and lands on top of a police car. It's an intense moment. It's a creepy moment. There's a lot of those moments throughout. Moments of Ghostface kind of coming behind a character, or Ghostface doing something unpredictable, and moments of just all around. It's a intense, dark film. It's going to be a 5 out of 5 in this category. I mean, what else did you expect? All the others have been that way. This one's even darker, so it's going to be a 5 out of 5 in this category. Our grand total on the conviction meter is going to be a 22 out of 25. And this is, once again, pretty high, extreme stuff in its violence and gore, its profanity, and its intense/horror scenes, but it has also definitely got a little bit more in its substance abuse, things of that sort that is contained within this category in this movie as well. So all of that to say, if anything we talked about compromises your convictions in any way, shape, or form, don't worry about watching Scream 4, because no movie or show is more important than your relationship with Jesus, so make sure to keep him first. This leads us into our next topic as we dive into some theological themes that are present within Scream 4. And I really didn't pick up on anything here. It's explicitly talking about Jesus, the Bible, Christianity, things of that sort that are contained within this movie. There really wasn't anything in particular. Of course, with anything with the Scream franchise, you're dealing with a broken and fallen world. We continue to see that because of what exactly is happening. I will say this though, the lengths, vanity, and fame will lead us to can also be very, very deadly. We as Christians shouldn't seek fame, although that is very easy to do. It's very easy for wanting us to be the popular person, to be that guy, to be that girl, to be the one with the most amount of followers, to be the one with the most amount of fame, to get our 15 seconds, as they used to say. But that's not the point. The point is to let us take the back seat and let's glorify the name of Jesus and make him more famous. If I remember correctly, there's a verse that talks about how he must become greater. He referencing Jesus. He must become greater and I must become less. And that's the posture we should have. We should never seek fame, even if it is with the right intentions, right? To glorify the name of Jesus. Oh God, if you make me famous, I'll glorify your name, things of that sort. It's a dangerous game to play. Don't seek the fame, seek Christ. And that is a reminder, once again, I think we all need, myself included on that. So let's make sure to keep him first. Keep seeking the kingdom and his righteousness, and everything else will be added. So with that wrapped up, it's time to dive into my thoughts on Scream 4. And this, like I mentioned earlier, is the darkest of the franchise. They really elevate the tone of a just regular slasher and just bring it into kind of a more modern view. And I don't know how I feel about it because I've enjoyed the way the Scream franchise has been, which is partially a parody, kind of fun, whimsy horror, if there even is such a word for that. But this one just takes it to another level. It becomes even darker, and my assumption is they're going to continue that as we go through the rest of the franchise here. So I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not overall crazy about it, but I will say this film is definitely a much stronger entry into this franchise than 2 and especially obviously compared to 3. There's a lot to enjoy here. For the most part, the story I think is solid. It's enjoyable. The dialogue here is much better compared to the clunkiness of 3. The characters here are really good. The acting here is also superb. It's also really good as well. Big fan of Emma Roberts here in this film as well. I believe this is one of her earlier films. She's appeared in a lot since this one, but she does a really good job in this film. It's cool to see the classic characters and things of that sort. And hey, Courtney Cox has a much better haircut in this one. There's a lot to enjoy about this film, a lot to like. I love what they did with Sidney Prescott and her trying to ultimately help people, right? We see that throughout the movies of her slowly getting to that point. So I wonder if she'll ever kind of reach the sense of peace that she's seeking. But anyways, all of that to say, there is a lot to enjoy about this film. There's also a few things here I'm not crazy about. Again, I'm not crazy personally about the darker tone they decide to go with or the amount of gore that is used throughout this film. I think it just doesn't translate well with what we've seen with the previous films. Just my 2 cents on that one. All that to say, it still is a solid film. I had, for the most part, an enjoyable time. There also is a few plot twists here that really were just very well done. I was not expecting it at all, and so that in and of itself made the film much more enjoyable. Overall, it's pretty good. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I quite enjoyed it. It's not obviously the best of the franchise. I still think the first one is the best, but this one is still overall solid, enjoyable, and a good time just to sit and watch. If you do want to check it out, it is available on Paramount Plus. But all of that to say, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. Let's chat all things about Scream 4 in the comments. And while you're down there, consider hitting that like and subscribing for us, joining our community here on YouTube. It just helps send us out into the algorithm, allows us to reach more Christians, to help them utilize their convictions in the movies and shows we watch. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with us here. We truly appreciate it. There's a few video recommendations here that YouTube is suggesting to you, one of which is Scream 3. If you want to hear me talk about the horribleness that is Scream 3, it's over here. And there's also a video down here that YouTube is suggesting to you personally, and no one else sees this type of video unless you were like really, really similar. Anyways, that's for you there if you want to check it out. That's also for you there if you want to check it out. We'll see you all in the next one.